What's up, everyone? Welcome to Niners Coast to Coast. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Mr. Aponte. Jason, to you, we're going to be talking about this ridiculous, mysterious, curious Deebo Samuel clip in a minute. But first, we've got to talk about some rumors heading around the league. Apparently, according to Twitter, the Colts are interested in Mike McGlinchey. So I got to ask Jason, are you buying or selling this report, rumor, whatever you want to call it?
The problem is the account that it comes from, that NFL Rooms account. You know, it's almost become a joke, like Dan Sileo at this point, where he's just like, yeah, this, and none of it comes true. But I'll say this.
Yes.
This actually does feel like it has legs, right? And when you look at the way the Colts build their roster and they want to build it in the trenches, right? Maybe the Colts are thinking, you know, let's get him lined up with Quentin Nelson. You know, let's get them together again. So, I mean, this guy could be completely wrong, but something about this feels like there has to be some sort of movement on the Colts' part, especially considering how they want to win, how they feel like building their team. So I actually buy this. It's just the person who keeps tweeting it has no good track record. But this sounds right. This sounds right.
Yeah, I agree with that. That aside, makes sense. It's like McGlinchey has been a serviceable right tackle at times. To me, he regressed last year, but we know why. I mean, Joe Staley left. He needs someone to hold him accountable. We've talked about all of that. He's like, he needs someone to lead him to the promised land. And Trent Williams, his attitude is like, you know what? It's not my job. I don't do that. You know, fine. Joe Staley took it upon himself. Quentin Nelson did it in college. Clearly, these two on the same line. Nelson was the alpha dog. I think the Colts would understand that. And if you bring him back there, it worked in college. It could work here. Maybe Quentin Nelson could get Mike McGlinchey to weigh 310 pounds if no one else in the world can. So that would make sense. But what would the Niners get for Mike McGlinchey?
That's really what it boils down to. So,
yes.
I mean, at this point, I think, and I'm probably going to get killed. I think you can get a second or a third for him, honestly, at this point. I don't think you're getting a first for Mike McGlinchey. Again, No. Hey, look,
yeah,
I hear you. Forget our analysis, right, on it. It's just I always feel like there's always coaches or teams out there that feel like, let me get my hands on him. I'm gonna fix him, right? And the Colts, did the Colts overpay for Carson Wentz? Do you believe?
That's a good point. They paid more than I thought the Eagles would get for him, and then they did do those conditional picks, which are interesting. But
and if he hits those snap counts, then those picks become whatever. And things
I would say,
like that.
They kind of paid a lot. I was surprised. Yeah,
right. And tackle's such a premium position. You know, like here's the thing: when he was brought in to run block. The problem is that he just hasn't really improved on pass blocking, which he thought he would by year 4, right? So, I mean, go ahead.
Well, wouldn't the Colts be bringing him in to play left tackle? They lost Costanzo.
Yes, they did. Costanzo, right? So he would be right next to Nelson.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that really makes sense. Honestly, if they can unlock McGlinchey with him next to Nelson, it's worth the second round pick because, you know, I think so for them at least. And
I'm saying if the Niners can get a second, you just say thank you. Just say thank you.
Absolutely. Because then what you do is you can, you know, allocate your money to Trent Williams and then go address it in the draft. You might even be able to be, you know, depending on where you are, Slater at right tackle. Again, you kind of laid it out, and that would be, again, having a guy like that under a rookie contract who you don't have the concerns with Mike McGlinchey. You know, this doesn't feel like it's something out of the blue or that doesn't make sense when you really break it down.
I haven't watched a ton of Rashawn Slater, but I have watched some, and from what I've seen, he would be an upgrade over Mike McGlinchey. Now, he hasn't played in a year. Trent Williams had a little bit of rust coming off a year layoff. This guy isn't Trent Williams. He's a rookie. So he may not be an upgrade at first, but I think he'll be an upgrade over Mike McGlinchey. So if that's the route the Niners want to go, trade McGlinchey to the Colts or whomever and replace him with Rashawn Slater.
Yeah, that's really good roster building right there. The other thing is you know, Dylan Redunz is somebody that's out there that can play tackle that was really good. He played at NDSU. You know, they run a lot of the stuff that, you know, are pro concepts, cow stuff. So he understands that. He's played really well behind, you know, in front of Trey Lance. So that's another option. There's a lot of good tackles in this draft. And I think that, you know, the 49ers would be foolish to not even explore this avenue, even if it's not happening. Like if you don't have this conversation about what can we do with McGlinchey and maybe upgrade the position, then I start to get scared. So they have to be having this discussion. Now, whether this rumor has legs, that's something different. But honestly, this rumor feels right. You know, like it feels like it's something that could work, a place where he actually fits, and they have a ton of money. So, I mean, it all kind of lines up, honestly. So I really think that this thing has legs. It's just, I wish it came from a more credible source.
True. And from the Colts perspective, it's like, okay, he's been playing right tackle on the Niners next to Mike Person, Daniel Brunskill, a revolving door at right guard. We could bring him in, put him at left tackle, and put him next to Quentin Nelson, who he's had a track record next to, who is the best guard in the league. And I mean, he could only do better. That being said, I see the logic. He'll break your hearts, Indianapolis. He will break your hearts. There'll be that one game where you're down 7 late in the fourth quarter and you feel like, man, we got this. And then boom, Mike McGlinchey does his thing.
That's really what amplified all of the Mike McGlinchey stuff, is that when he whiffed on a pass block, it was like the worst time.
At the end. At the end. Like 4 or 5 times this year. And you know what? That's, hey, if quarterbacks can choke, if kickers can choke, if wide receivers can choke, maybe right tackles can choke too, because he has a track record. Let's move on. Would the fact that both Kansas City tackles being available after release make more sense also? That right tackle in Kansas City would be a good pickup. Yeah, but he's extremely expensive. So let's talk about the left tackle. Eric Fisher. He tore his number one pick. Hell of an athlete, tore his Achilles, won't be ready for the beginning of the season, but could come back for the Super Bowl run that the Niners are going to make. So my question is, if he's, depending on the price, is this someone the Niners should be interested in?
For sure. I mean, we've laid out other people that haven't had the track record that he has at other positions that you're like, hey, he could get revitalized here, for sure. I mean, you have to. But again, this roster, construction under this salary cap of $182 million, right? Is that the final number that we have? Like, it's kind of set. Like, that's where it's leaning. I find it hard to spend money on somebody who may be ready later on. And what if you don't even make the Super Bowl run, so it's tough. It really is. I'm sure someone will, and they will have the same thought process you just had. Eric Fisher will be ready to go later on, help us down the line with a playoff run. I'm not certain that this 49ers team can say, depending right now with who's there, that they're Super Bowl contenders. I don't know if they can say that at this point.
I wouldn't offer him real money. I guess I'd offer him like the veteran minimum with no money guaranteed. And I don't know if he would choose the Niners in that scenario, but you wouldn't offer more. I mean, you're looking at someone who might not play this year and who might, if he does come back, who could at least, provide depth or competition for Mike McGlinchey. But if you trade Mike McGlinchey and get Rashawn Slater, then what's the freaking point? Still, as potential upside guys who could be had for the league freaking minimum.
Massive upside with Eric Fisher.
Yeah, massive upside, plays the position you want. I don't know what it'll cost. Okay, let's talk about, they keep leading us to the next topic. Let's do it. I think you're talking about what we're talking about, but if you're not, we're going to talk about it. Reports are saying Patriots are trading for he who will not be named with second and third 2021 picks. Really? I haven't heard that at all. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't. I mean, you hear the reports from whoever runs the New England Patriots portion of The Athletic saying, yes, he's plan A for them and things like that. Just been burned too much with who's saying what about what right now at this point for me to take anything at face value at this point, right? And it's really funny. I'm sure we're going to talk about it too. It's just coaches are right now being pushed in front of microphones. If you watch the Houston Texans coach today, my goodness. That. Yeah, I know we're going to get to that, but oh my goodness, I felt so bad for that guy. For you to throw him to the wolves like that and just have everybody ask the same question over and over, it's just so. With everything that's going on right now, I don't know what to believe. I don't know so day to day, you hear Washington's involved. You hear New England's now involved. I don't know. And if this is something that is on the table, second and third, you have to do it, I think, at this point. You have to. Yeah,
it's good. I feel like the Niners, it'd be nice if they could get that first round pick, though, because I know it seems like Jimmy's not worth a fifth. I know. But it's about what he's worth to the Patriots, and try to see it from their perspective. Like what they keep saying out in New England is there's no firm plan B, and I believe it. What are they going to do if they don't get Jimmy Garoppolo? What? Run it back with Cam Newton? I don't think they want to do that.
Stidham? I don't know about that. Yeah.
I don't think so, because what's at stake here is an older coach in Bill Belichick whose legacy is taking a hit every year that he misses the playoffs and Brady does his thing in Tampa. So I don't think he can afford to miss the playoffs again. That's why Jimmy's appealing. He's a vet. He's had success in the league, and they developed him. even if they could get a guy like Mac Jones, he's a rookie. And they're not going to get Mac Jones. At 15, they're looking at maybe the sixth or seventh quarterback in round 1. So I think the Niners have him in a good spot to gouge him.
Yeah. And for me, I would say that somebody like Kyle Trask would pique their interest immediately. Like that's somebody that I think the Patriots would circle and just say, that's the guy that we're going to end up getting in whatever round that we get him in, right? And then run it with, whatever veteran, right? Whether that's Cam, whether that's, maybe Fitzpatrick, something like that. I could see them absolutely doing something like that. Yeah.
The Patriots and the Saints both have big time needs for quarterbacks and are dead silent on that front. Like, what are they planning? And I wouldn't be surprised if a dude like Trask in round 2 is the ace up one of those team sleeves, because the Saints pick 28 in round 1 and the Pats pick 46 in round 2. That would be interesting.
46 feels right for Trask, especially, considered everything that we've talked about with how quarterbacks are overdrafted. Now you toss in this crazy offseason where people haven't had a real chance to, speak with people in the normal way and scout. I could definitely see Trask being there in the second round.
Yeah, it's crazy how he has absolutely zero buzz, but that doesn't mean that NFL teams don't like him. It just means that the media doesn't. I feel if New England had a first round pick on the table, that SF would still wait until after the draft because they are throwing shade. Man, I don't know. I just feel like the Niners, if they could get like a conditional pick, that would turn into a first, but then you're waiting until 2022 for your pick. I mean, would you do that? Hear about this. What if the option is the second round pick this year or a conditional next year that could become a 1 if they make the playoffs and Jimmy plays X amount of games? 10. I
like the conditional 1 because I'm not going to try to predict injuries and say, oh, Jimmy's just going to be hurt next year. Damn it, I said his name. All right, I'm losing. Yeah, you got me. I don't want to predict that he just won't be healthy, right? Because that's just not wise on my part. I would probably take the conditional first. So think about this. Even if Jimmy's there, damn it, that's twice. Even if he who is not to be named is there, if he's there, do you really see them ending up at the end of the draft with a Super Bowl berth or anything like that? Like, there's a real good chance that they'll be mid first round pick, or just a little bit later than that if they make the playoffs or sneak in.
Brady struggled there with the lack of those weapons. I mean, there's not a lot there for success.
You're gonna have to bring receivers in. You're gonna have to pay receivers to bring them in, because for the first time you drafted a receiver in the first round, that's not working out for you right now with N'Keal Harry, and that's the portion where I hate the idea of him going over there, because they may not be able to surround him with things that'll help him. But I love the idea of him going over there, because that system will push themselves towards him. Say what you want about Cam Newton. The Patriots did an amazing job of amending their offense to him and using him in the right way. They weren't saying be Brady, pre-snap diagnose everything and get the ball out. No, whatever the results are, whatever you feel about Cam is one thing. But I think that McDaniels and I think that Bill did a great job of getting Cam closer to the offense that he should be running based on his skill set. And I think that a lot of coaches find themselves in a place where they're trying to smash a square peg into a circle hole. And that's when you get messy, right? So say what you want about how the offense looked. They at least tailored it to him. And that shows that they're willing to adapt to whatever that they have.
Well, that's what I think McDaniels has been trying to do independent of Brady since forever. I mean, when he was in Denver, he drafted Deebo. And I think it's interesting that as soon as they really got rid of Brady, they replaced him with Cam Newton. And that's why I think that I keep coming back to the Kellen Mond thing at 12. Like, if they don't take him at 12 and they like him, who's to say the Patriots aren't targeting him at 15 or 46? Because it seems like the kind of quarterback that McDaniels is gravitating to. I mean, he made his name with Brady, but it seems like he wants to go a different direction. Something.
Yeah, I mean,
but we're not
probably he wants to use Mond to, zone reads, RPOs, things like that, get him open throws off of those, play action, all those things as well too. So just because I'm not high on Mond doesn't mean that I don't see where he could fit, and that's the thing, right? That we've been high on quarterbacks before and they busted, and we've been low on quarterbacks before and they've come out of nowhere and destroyed us. So, I see the fit there as well too.
We'll take one more question before we get back to our topics. Eric Price, Bay Area Baller 18. He is a Bay Area baller, says, I think you are seriously overestimating how many quarterbacks go top 10 or top 15. If the over-under is 4 quarterbacks in the top 10, I'm taking the under. Yeah, it seems like the whispers around the league is that this is going to be some type of record-setting different year for certain reasons. Do you buy that?
I do. So let's just say right now, mocked in my head, how I have it. First 2 are quarterbacks. First 2. That's 2 off the board. Yeah. Trey Lance to 7 is with Detroit is really gaining steam right now. Dan Campbell's going to his pro day. So that's 3 right there. And then Justin Fields. He's going to go in the top 10. I could see 4 easily. I could see those 4 in the top 10.
Right.
Now, look, again.
And with Dan Campbell could be like, either we're going to take a quarterback here, or if you want a quarterback, you got to trade up.
Got to come trade us. Right, exactly.
1, 2, 7, 8, because Carolina as well.
Right. And
so that's
Carolina's
4 spots.
So there you
and
go.
What about Atlanta?
And
that's
so
5.
Atlanta could kick the can down the road a little bit, because I think it's overstated with Matt Ryan how old he is. He's 35. And in quarterback years now, in this day and age, that's not super old. Guys are playing into their 40s. That's the thing, though. That's why I feel
if they like a quarterback, though.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If the 49ers like Justin Fields, you got to get to 3. You have to get to 3 with Miami.
Right.
That's right. Where if you want to safely take him, and again, this isn't their plan. Again, this is just me in my own mind. If this is their plan, you've got to get to 3. You cannot wait around for Atlanta at 4, and you cannot play that game with anybody else.
See, that's why I feel like one's a quarterback, 2's a quarterback, no matter who's picking it to. 3, maybe no. But 3 could be a quarterback as well. So, I mean, Miami could trade down. Why do you pick a player there if it's not a quarterback for Miami? Just trade down 2 spots or with 3.
Miami can trade down and get Jamar Chase like they want. Yes. Get that receiver that they want to add. You can have him, because as much as I love Jamar Chase, and I know that not everybody is on the same wavelength, Vish nailed it. You cannot, in a top 10 pick, use it on a wide receiver at this point. Not this draft.
And the way I look at it is Lawrence is going number 1. Wilson is almost definitely going number 2. I don't know if he's going to New York, but he's definitely going number 2. Mac Jones, it sounds like, is going no later than 8 to Carolina. And then my questions are Fields and Lance. It seems like the opinions of them are split, and it's hard to tell. But it's possible some team's really going to like Fields, and he's going to go top 10. It's possible some team's really going to like Lance, and he's going to go top 10 too.
I got a chance yesterday, and I never watch sports TV or anything like that. But I was at a friend's house, actually. I left the house yesterday for once. And NFL Live was on. And Matt Miller was on. His comp for Trey Lance, and I strongly disagree with this comp, was Lamar Jackson. And everybody on the panel hated it as well. Marcus Spears, even Booger McFarland was like face palming, saying that. So right now, because it's March, it's just, I have a tough time listening to everybody.
I still say Taysom Hill.
I mean, look.
Nothing. Taysom Hill's a hell of an athlete.
Hey, no.
He's a hell of an athlete. It could work out for him.
I like your idea about,
just because he's raw. Just because he's
right. But honestly, at this point in March, I have a tough time listening to other people because they're flipping what they're saying here and there every week, every other week, so that's it. You know what?
Got to keep it interesting.
If I'm going to be wrong, I'm going to be wrong on my own merits, and I'm going to stick to my guns. So I don't care, that's it. Nothing's going to change me now at this point.
All right. I like that about you. We mentioned N'Keal Harry. Let's talk N'Keal Harry. The same account that said that the Colts are interested in Mike McGlinchey. So if you want to believe it and get your hopes up with McGlinchey, let's talk about N'Keal Harry. Thing about Harry, he's been a bust so far. I liked him coming out of Arizona State, and from what I heard, the Niners liked him very much as well. They didn't get a chance to take him. He went in the first round. I heard they had him above Deebo Samuel on their draft board. Anyway, things worked out for the better for the Niners. But now he could be had for cheap. Do you buy or sell the Niners' rumored / reported interest in Harry?
They're definitely interested. I just don't know if they've made a call. So with the N'Keal Harry thing, people forget they stumbled on Brandon Ayuk because they scouted N'Keal Harry. They ran into Brandon Ayuk because they went to talk to Harry, and that's the part that's the little nugget that you need to take. Here's the thing: what I noticed from him on film when I watched, he's a big guy, profiles exactly what you like. He's not tough over the middle. He's been, and I don't know if this means anything. You can tell me if maybe I'm reaching. He's been a big sider with concussion protocols and making sure that people do things the right. So I don't know if he has that dog in him over the middle, right? That understands, hey, look, this is part of the game. You're going to take hits, because we saw in the 49ers Patriots game, Tarvarius Moore took him out, basically almost ended his season with the concussion. He missed like 5 weeks because he's not going to rush himself back. That's not. So look, this isn't a knock on him because he's smart.
Yeah,
he's smart. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
He's very smart. You should be thinking that way. But when you're talking about, I think people get confused when they say big body receiver, that he's going to be tough. I don't see that toughness with N'Keal Harry at this level. I really don't.
Interesting, because when I watched a lot of his tape at Arizona State, and what I saw from him was not quite as good as A.J. Brown, but similar in the sense that he would go over the middle, catch the dig route, and take the hit and keep going. But that was in college. I mean, that was in the Pac-12. Maybe the speed and the violence in the NFL got to him. I mean, I've seen it happen before. It happened to Dante Pettis. Sometimes these Pac-12 receivers get to the NFL and like, wow, this is like going from AA to the pros. Like, this is crazy, man.
And
I didn't see anything like this.
Tarvarius Moore was the one who cut his lights out, and that's not even the biggest hitter on the team.
No.
It's just the way it lined up. That was the one game that they let Tarvarius Moore roam the box and play everywhere, and he got lined up at the right point. Cam even it wasn't even a bad throw or anything like that. It's just sometimes. But
let me ask you: do you buy? I mean, if they were interested enough to go scout him, this makes sense, right? I mean, do you?
Yeah, it does.
I don't know if they called him. So we both suspect that there may be some fire here. So in that case, what do you think the Niners what would it take to get N'Keal Harry?
So I think any interest in N'Keal Harry has to include the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
You're sending the quarterback. You'll probably get picks. For me, if it comes down to that, do I want to pick or do I want N'Keal Harry for the quarterback? I want picks. I do. That
did cross my mind last night when I heard this. Was like, is this the best the Niners are going to get for Jimmy Garoppolo? Is that what's happening here? Are they going to be like,
either? That's not a throw-in either. It feels like if Bill's going to be offering that, it's almost like I'm giving you a first-round receiver. I don't have to give you another pick. I don't want that. Give me a pick if we're talking about that. I want a pick.
Okay, so let me get more even. Okay, so same logic. Is it possible it's not Jimmy that the Niners are floating for Harry? It's McGlinchey.
You said it.
Is it McGlinchey? Because the way it works a lot of times is first round bust, not working out, needs change of scenery. First round bust, not working out, needs to change of scenery. Let's swap. You know, when the Niners swapped AJ Jenkins, I'm not saying they should, but when the Niners swapped AJ Jenkins for Jonathan Baldwin, that was the logic. It seems like a right tackle who can run block but not pass block is more valuable than a wide receiver who can't get on the field. Did I say that right? Yes.
No, you did. And again, if we're talking about that, I am not giving up Mike McGlinchey for a guy that I have no idea what he's going to do, if anything at all.
Because they could cut Harry.
Right. I at least know what McGlinchey offers because he's still great run blocking. He's still great at that. Like I want to make sure that I keep saying that, you know, because we can talk about negatives all day, but you have to remember that's not what he was brought here for. So he's at least doing the thing that he was brought here for, which is run blocking very well. It's just you want to see those strides in year 4. You want to see that stride before your 5th year option, and it seems like he's just flat when it comes to his development. You know, when it comes to being a pass blocker.
At best, yeah.
I'm being nice, Grant. I don't want
as a pass blocker.
No,
I'm just saying.
When you know, if God willing, I become credentialed this year and I'm at the stadium, I don't want Mike McGlinchey to pick me up and slam me. He's going to destroy me. I don't care how skinny he is.
Are you kidding? You'd be set for life. You never have to work again. You can just chill on YouTube the rest of your day.
No, but I want to be around the team. I want to, you know, I want the.
He's going to come after me first. You won't have to worry about it. I'll take the.
But he's going to see the videos and he's going to be like, you're over there with him too.
Don't think I didn't see you in there too. All right, let's talk Deebo, man, because this thing was like people were freaking out on Twitter about it. I didn't even see it until late. Can you explain to people what was going on with this?
So I am actually going to pat myself on the back here. I shouldn't be doing that, but I'm going to pat myself on the back. So the clip comes across. I forget where I first see it. And the way he was on a podcast, 21st in Prime, with Deion Sanders and whoever the guy is that he has on there, which is for Barstool. So the clip comes across as him being asked a question about Jimmy and then talking about, well, you don't need a Hall of Fame pass blocking group all the time. Sometimes you got to make plays on your own. Sometimes you got to man up. That's kind of what Deebo was saying. So at first, when that clip comes across, everyone takes it as Deebo Samuel is talking about he who shall not be named. Me, I sat there and I stood quiet. I didn't tweet anything about it. I just looked at it. Because usually I would go and just maybe just tweet it. Yeah, and with eyes and just saying like, yeah, woo. Pretty quickly, honestly, 2 minutes, 3 minutes later, you know, the unedited clip comes out and he's talking about Russell Wilson. He starts before, I don't like the Seahawks. Way to go, Deebo. We love you, buddy, for that. And then he says, you know, the same things about, you know, Deion basically alludes to the fact that if you have a C on your chest, you shouldn't be asking out. That's not how he's like, it would rub him the wrong way. It would rub, you know, anybody on that roster the wrong way. But when you get into the actual meat of the interview, Deebo's talking about Russell Wilson, about, hey, man, you want good pass blocking, but also you got to make things happen yourself. And you know, the same complaints and the same sort of criticisms that I've come across on Russell Wilson this year was, yes, the pass blocking isn't the best, but you miss reads. You try to play too much backyard football. and then you want to blame them because you're like out of the pocket getting hit. Yeah. If you made your first read, at the right time and got the ball out, you would be fine. But it's just funny how, I don't know, did Barstool cut this video this way? This is the discussion, really. Did Barstool cut the video that way to generate clicks? Did somebody on 49ers Twitter do that? I don't know. I just know that I learned a valuable lesson about, okay, an interview comes out, maybe I should just sit a little bit and try to figure out, what exactly was all said before I give my opinion.
Okay, so I saw this after everyone explained. Like, I was talking to Vish, and he's like, "Did you see this?" I was like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." I was interviewing Jim Mora, and he was like, "Okay, so here's what happened." So I knew. You sent it to me, and I saw the clip, and I was watching what Deebo said in response to a question about Russell Wilson, and it was a very leading question from Deion Sanders. Anyway, everything he said, I'm listening to it, and I'm like, every single thing Deebo Samuel's saying also applies to he who must not be named.
I knew you were going to say 10. That, and
number 10.
I don't all the way disagree with you there, but see, that's the thing. That's why what he said was taken and confused.
Because I could see it's so obvious. You're listening to that and you're like, well, he could be talking about his own quarterback, couldn't he? And so that dude had fun with it. But what I'm thinking is, okay, he could be talking about his own quarterback. If he's had these thoughts for Russell Wilson, did they cross his synapses with relation to Jimmy Garoppolo? Has it ever? Or because I see Deebo as one of the brightest guys on the team. He's really, really smart. And although Deion was sort of leading him there, it didn't take much. And Deebo had a lot to say on the subject. And it felt like something he and other senior members of the team might have talked about. I'm just guessing. I'm like, wow, man, this is very specific. And it certainly applies to your team. It certainly applies. I don't know. But I was like, oh, like, wow.
If you take that clip and you just posted what he said, somebody would just say, oh my God, he's talking about, like, he didn't even have to hear the corrupt. You did it. You said it twice. That's twice. We're tied now. 2-2. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if you just took that clip, out of context and you took it away from the entire conversation, it could be, it could allude to that idea. It's just, I'm glad that I was able to stay away from it and then find out really what was all said before I jumped out the window or anything like that and said anything like that. But it's so much to the discussion, that you shouldn't be able to say something like that and have it pulled apart like that and think that people weren't going to take it that way. So, I mean, it's nothing, but the way it was presented in the beginning, it sounded like something.
But the Niners created this situation by not 100% backing their quarterback. They've created like a QAnon situation where it's like everything they do is like, see, boom, proof right there. You see what Deebo said about Russell Wilson? That is proof of what the Niners think of Jimmy Garoppolo right there. It's like, well, yeah, that's actually kind of true. It makes sense.
The other thing too is he says something about guys get injured. You got to keep moving. You believe in your teammates and things like that. And it's just, again, if you take that quote by itself and put it, that looks bad because you're going to just automatically, tie 2 and 2 together to him and the quarterback.
Okay.
But again, listen to the whole thing. He's talking about Russell Wilson. They're talking about Deshaun Watson.
Deebo didn't do anything wrong. He was in the right. It's just my mind. So I build this as Mike McGlinchey. So people are going to be that tuned in late are going to be asking about it. We talked about this already, but I'll be happy to do a little quick refresher for price. John, thank you. John Alvarado says, can we sign Fisher, Gabe Jackson, and Mac for the same price as signing Trent? And if so, would this be the best move? Maybe go Mond and restructure Jimmy and keep him as Bridge. You see how I get people on the Mond train? It's a real thing, Jason. Let's just put Mond.
And you say we're the influencers.
Yeah. Let's put Mond to the side. And I like this. Like, what can you get instead of Trent Williams? How about Fisher, Gabe Jackson, and Mac? The problem with Fisher is he's not going to be around. He's not going to play much this year.
If he was ready week 1, I don't have an issue with it. You
could draft Slater, but you got him taking Mond. Mond isn't going to be there in round 2. It's starting to look like, I don't know, John. It's very difficult. I don't know, but I'm thinking probably no. Fisher is like a stash. He's like a Jason Verrett stash for down the line.
For sure. Like you have to be in a really good space right now, considering where the cap is to even take that chance. And the 49ers are just not there at this point. They're not. Like, if you sign people, they need to be able to contribute week 1.
No question. Okay. We got to talk about Deshaun Watson because when the Niners are slow playing things and they're saying they like Jimmy Garoppolo and like, will they? In the back of my mind, I'm like, are they just waiting for Watson? Is that the play here this offseason? Let everyone else kind of declare themselves and let the Rams and the Colts take themselves out of the sweepstakes, if there are sweepstakes, and be like one of the only suitors left. I asked because that there was an interview today with the new head coach, and it just was ridiculous. It
was brutal,
fault, but it was so bad.
It's so bad. You threw him to the wolves. I hate that organization so much and the way that they operate. Good God, help that man.
Yeah. I'd never heard of him before. And then I saw, for the first time I saw him, I was like, oh, I didn't know he was African-American. I thought, gee, I know why they hired him. They're just trying to make Deshaun Watson happy. They don't, and it's like, Watson's like, I don't even know who this guy is. Like, it's not that easy.
I asked you for Bieniemy, not him.
That's and you just Watson's got me thinking. Like it's like, oh man. So yeah, I was like, oh no, what is Houston doing? What is going on there? So I felt bad for him. I mean, of course he's going to take the job. The African Americans don't get these opportunities very much anyway. It felt like, oh man, it's Steve Wilkes again. This guy is not even. He's being set up to fail. This is awful.
Absolutely. And when things go left and everything, he's going to take the brunt of it. And I think that's false, just because the organization is just trash top to bottom. One year, probably. Yeah, awful. And look.
Anyway, original question. Do you think the Niners are waiting for Watson? Do you think they'll be like, hey, there's never going to work out there. It's never going to work. Other people aren't being as patient. We can be more patient.
In the back of their mind, it's something that's there. And I think that they understand the climate. Houston's not taking calls. He's our quarterback right now. So this is going to play out much closer to draft day, if not on draft day. The problem is we've seen this organization wait for whatever they thought was going to happen, and then you wind up missing out on everything.
I love that you connected it to that, to the Kirk Cousins. It's like the original sin that this Niners regime committed. Passing on what was in front of you because you were waiting for something that you couldn't even guarantee. And they could be doing that again this year. They're like, look, we like these college quarterbacks, but none of them are a guarantee. They're all college guys. They're rookies. Why don't we just wait and be patient and go brick by brick and get Deshaun Watson? Yeah. And what if it just doesn't happen? But I think that could be the plan here. We can afford to be patient. We can afford to wait for Watson while a lot of these other teams are just desperate. So let's profit off of their desperation and not take ourselves out of the game.
Look, and to double down on how inept the Texans are, they just signed a new player today, Mark Ingram.
Hey, well, that'll change Deshaun Watson's mind. He'll go in there and say big trust a few times, and Deshaun Watson will be like, oh, sweet.
Yeah,
great.
thanks for paying. Thank you. Thanks for trading for David Johnson and then signing and the end of the line Mark Ingram, who I love as a player. It's his time's over. Yep.
Been over. Did it ever start? I'm sorry.
No, he was good. He was good in New Orleans. They were in a good system, and he was great that first year with the Ravens because that running attack. Greg Roman. It's 1 year. He's gonna run all over you, and then everybody's gonna figure you out, and then that's when the struggles that they're having now. So it's odd. It's odd. You bringing in a running back? Why? What?
That'll change his mind. Alexander Hooker says, let Trent walk. Sure. Get Slater. I'm good. Sign Tooney and Lindsey. Okay. Give Jimmy one more year with a much more improved offensive line and see what happens. Draft Trask round 2A. I mean, that's
smart.
Very reasonable.
I just me and Trask. It's smart. It's smart. That's smart.
Let me ask you real quick, because it seems like people are starting to now nail down their day 2 quarterbacks. And it ain't this guy. Like, this guy has no buzz. So who do you like in day 2?
I'm starting to come around to actually day 3 guys more at the end. Okay. Honestly, Davis Mills is intriguing, and that's not somebody that I jumped out the window for. That's somebody that when I talk with other people, when I started to dig into his tape and everything, you start to see certain things that you're just like, man, this guy's pretty good. Especially when you're talking about where you can take him in day 3. Day 2, I just don't know how many guys are going to make it to 2. So here's the thing: Mon's going probably in the first round. His stock's too high.
Yeah.
Fields, Wilson, Lawrence, those guys were never in that. Mac. So that's 5 right off the rip that are going in the first round. Second round guys.
6 in the first round, I think, if Mon gets in there, because Lawrence too.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. So day 2, you may not see as many people because, who was at the Senior Bowl? Felipe Franks, Ian Book. Like, those aren't guys that aren't going to be going in the second round or anything like that. So Kyle Trask probably If he goes in day 2, is the number 1 day 2 quarterback.
It's going to be Trask and Mills. Mills is a little bit more mobile than Trask.
Yes, that's what I like about him as well.
Yeah, may have a stronger arm than Trask. It's just Trask's resume is so good, and everyone's like, well, it doesn't count because of this and that. It's like, okay. I think one team might be intrigued by it, but Davis Mills is really interesting too. So if it's not Trask, it could be Mills. It seems like a quarterback Kyle would like.
Stanford guy.
A Stanford guy. Yeah, absolutely. Let Trent go. Another scenario. Let Trent go. Trade McGlinchey and a third to Baltimore for Brown. Brunskill moved to right tackle. Sign Lindsey or Mack. Draft Tucker. Trade back in first for Mont. You guys all have great suggestions. It's like you guys have been watching the show.
You've done all this. This is you. I've done this. You did all this.
Right. I think this is really good too. We need to email these directly to the 49ers because they're excellent suggestions. Hey, man, you took the idea right out of my mind. Love it. Hold on. Jonathan Sterling says, I keep hearing stuff about drafting a quarterback or drafting O-lineman. If we do, what's going to be the plan for corner? Yup. I think a team will take Horn before us. Yeah, what's the plan at corner, man?
My plan has always just been trying to bring in people that are solid from the outside and try to see what you can do and maybe push it away. Again, floated AJ Boye out there. There's the kid from the Lions who just got let go. He's another nickel corner if you want to replace K1. The problem is that he makes a ton of money. I think that if the 49ers want to fortify, their offensive line and their quarterback position, they can probably patch together that cornerback position in that cornerback room with free agent guys who are very solid, and then kick the can down the road and try to address it later on. J.C. Horn, I think for me is cornerback 1. He's incredible. It's very hard to see that. Yeah. I love Patrick Surtain, and I love guys who have pedigree with guys who are in the league. Your father played in the league. That's big for me. I think that you know how to move and things like that. Some of the concerns that have come up with him have made me a little bit, sour on him. There's a kid. Just sometimes with the man stuff, JC Horn's just a straight up man guy. Like he's just going to be able to knock you down man to man. Sometimes I see some things on film with Surtain that he's not staying in touch with people. He just can get beat sometimes. And that's but hey, I think that Surtain's going to be a solid, cornerback. But if you're asking me between those two, it's JC Horn. There's a kid from TCU. I can't remember his name. I jumped on one film session like late at night. It was like almost midnight, but he looked incredible. I think he's a safety as well too. I think that they're grading him in the first round and things like that. But Jordan, Splash Cousin, he brought it to my attention. He was almost like a Jimmy Ward type, right? So like where Jimmy Ward understands what he can do in man-to-man. He's one of the best safeties in coverage, man-to-man. He can cover a slot guy and you're fine. Like, even in the Rams game, he was outside covering Robert Woods. He's that type of guy. And I just saw a player with a lot of confidence. There was one rep in particular that's been sticking in my mind. He's got his body halfway turned towards the quarterback, almost like, I have enough closing speed to let you get here so I can watch the quarterback and then I can go get you. And that's exactly what he did. The quarterback tried to pick on him and he was fast enough. I got to get his name for you, but it's somebody that's intriguing that could be at the end of the first round and things like that as well too. So,
the thing about Surtain, I was talking about him with Coach Johnson, and he was saying the thing about Alabama corners is a lot of times they don't carry man-to-man coverage responsibilities over the middle. Like they pass those off to linebackers and safeties, and they're responsible.
Mo Raid. Have you heard of him? Mo Raid?
No.
Yeah.
Well, I'll check him out.
TCU, that's somebody that, it's, the problem with us is when we're trying to evaluate quarterbacks and things like, college players, we have to try to piece the film from wherever the hell we can get it from. Like I met somebody on Clubhouse who like dropped off the bag, like for me, dropped off everybody's offense. So that's somebody I just came across right now. So
that's dope. All right, let's move on to what Random Electronic 2.0 is saying. Mora interview was great, but not encouraging. Kyle is the last guy who has patience/time to mentor/teach arrogant Rosen the way Mora says is needed. All right, let me ask you, can the 49ers bring out Josh Rosen's full potential? Because Mora said if anyone could, Kyle and the Niners could. But he also kind of said it's up to Josh.
If anybody could, Kyle can. That's it, that's it. And I think that's what everybody, is feeling about Sam Darnold, even if, I'm not all the way dead set on that, because my thing with like Rosen and Sam Darnold is that people say things with their chest so like heavy, like he'll be great here. You know that for a fact? I get you. Sure. I get the thought process. Thought process. And yes, that is true. But when people, Sam will come over here and he'll be great. Maybe. Why are you saying it with your chest all out? Like, that's the part that gets me scared. Again, what do I know? What do I predict? I'm not a fan of being able to try to predict something and try to untap. So if you have those same thoughts about Sam, you have to have those same thoughts with Josh Rosen, right? And if anybody wants to, or if anybody is capable, is coach and he can do it, But again, we have to see him a little bit in camp. I have to see what he looks like in camp, I need to see. And I don't try to the arrogant narrative. That's something that's been pushed for some. Like I never see that. Like he's just standing on the sideline. I don't know where that really came from, or was it just part of his pre-draft interview rounds? Was that it?
Well, I mean, it's from what Jim Mora said in the interview today. I mean, he has the issue with Rosen is maturity. Like I told you that story a couple of weeks ago. The kid who was at the Manning Passing Academy and Rosen was his counselor. He's like, yeah, nice kid. I really like Rosen. Smart, engaging, late every day. And I told that to Jim Mora and he was like, yeah.
Wow.
And it's like, okay. And he also said like, as a coach, you never want a kid to tell you, I got it. Because you don't. And that's why I'm a coach. And he said, that's all Josh would say is I got it. And so that's just immaturity, man. That's like you were told at a young age that you're the best quarterback in the country and you feel like everyone's beneath you. Like, okay, now you're 24 and you're this close to being totally washed out of the league with no second chance. What are you going to do about it, man? Can you mature enough right now to stay in the league? And you know what? It's encouraging. Like he went to the practice squad in Tampa Bay and didn't quit. He stuck with it. Then he came to the Niners and he didn't ask to talk to the press. He was just grinding. So maybe he has. I'm not going to write him off. He's very young. And when I was that age, I was very immature. Very immature.
Yeah. I'm very immature now. And, so, I get it. I never knew any of those things. I had known that was a narrative that was out there. I just try not to, I guess, embrace a narrative without understanding the fine parts of the details. So, if he's late all the time, that I got it thing is really troubling, especially because you're just jumping into the league right now. And again, when someone is in front of me that I can learn from, it's best to be quiet, take your notes, and just be quiet and learn as much as you can. And that's it. And that is a sign of immaturity.
Now, if his attitude at UCLA was, who are you, Jim Mora? If you were a really good coach, you'd be in the NFL. Well, that's immature, and that's not right. But I can understand certain athletes having that kind of immature attitude. You can't act that way around Kyle Shanahan. You can't – if Kyle says something to you and you act like you know better, actually, Jim Mora said it on the record, you're a fool. And he said – and Josh Rosen is not a fool. So in that sense, I do think Kyle Shanahan can stimulate Josh Rosen, who seems to he's like the smartest kid in the class, And if you're not the best teacher, he'll know it. And he'll slack off. He'll talk back. He won't do his homework. And he'll bring out the bad student in him. But you can't do that around Kyle Shanahan. If he does that around Kyle Shanahan, then I got to wonder, dude, did you really want to play football? Or did you just want to say that you were in the league for a minute? And I don't know if he's like that. It's possible he's like that. Some people are
troubling. I had a similar experience in school too. When I realized that everything that they were teaching me in history was BS, I was just like, I'm not listening to this anymore, because I had done my independent research and things like that, and that is a sign of immaturity, because I did that in high school. But you're a grown man now, and you know that your time in this league is short. If you're not here to repair whatever narrative that is around you, then it's true what you're saying. Then he absolutely doesn't care, and he's just still stuck in the ways that everybody was worried about.
What's crazy is that that people compared him to Aaron Rodgers, and maybe Rodgers did have the same temperament, the same attitude. I think he did, but he had the skill to back it up. But also, dude sat on the bench for 3 years. Josh Rosen's career has fallen apart before Aaron Rodgers ever had to do a thing. And that's another reason to feel like Rosen may have a chance, because back in the day when we were growing up, these kids sat for a while. It wasn't like, hey man, go play on a bad team, and if you suck, you're out of the league before you're 24. That's kind of crazy.
Rosen's situation has changed the way you evaluate all quarterbacks now. Now you are on borrowed time every minute that you are in this league. Remember, again, and I hate to keep saying it, what if Buffalo said after year 2, we're done with Josh Allen? This guy can't hit anybody. He's throwing interceptions. He's throwing the ball everywhere. That's the part that at least gives me that hope with Rosen, because the way that you evaluate quarterbacks now is completely skewed, because you draft Josh Rosen and then you kick him out and then you draft Kyler Murray, and that was unheard of. People, old NFL coaches punch the air probably at that thought process, and that you give him time, give him a shot. Like even Dave Gettleman right now, he's caping for Daniel Jones because he's old school thought process of the kid needs time.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, and that's the thing that's really weird is that Josh Rosen, his situation has affected how everyone else evaluates quarterbacks, and it's scary, honestly, going forward.
So yeah, the Niners probably can bring out the best in Josh.
If anybody
Josh,
can,
if you're watching, but Josh, if you're watching, this is a you issue. You know what I'm saying? Like you ever watch Boogie Nights? That's a YP.
That's a you problem.
This is a you issue. It's a you problem, Josh. You need to, because here's the thing. Nick Mullens. You were on the team. You were around him. Why is Nick Mullens in the league? Why is Nick Mullens where he is? Because he's obsessed with football. He doesn't just like it. It's everything for him. And if it doesn't work out, you know what he's going to do? Be a coach. If it doesn't work out for him as a player, he's still going to be here in the world of football. He has something to offer the world of football. Do you? You do, Josh. You just have to want it like Nick Mullens wants it. And maybe being exposed to someone like that can awaken. It's like, man, I got 8 times the natural ability of this kid, Nick Mullens, who's kicking my ass right here and starting. And I'm over here like holding a clipboard because of my attitude. Like that's what it is. I can do that. I'm smart enough. I can do that. Maybe he just needed a 23-year-old needed it to click. I also think if they were to bring in, I've been talking about the ideal bridge quarterback, someone like Alex Smith. God, what better mentor to show you this is how you're a pro. This is how you be a pro. This is how you change someone's perception of you. No one's done it better than Alex Smith. No one had more expectations than number 1 pick Alex Smith. All I'm saying.
And Alex Smith isn't done in this game either. So again, no matter what happens, he'll be somebody that sticks around as a coach as well too, because of all those things that you mentioned. He's literally seen it all in his time as an NFL quarterback.
CJ says, can we talk about Gregory Rousseau, 6'7", 6'8", speed rusher, took a year off, stock dropped, solid edge rusher, him and Bosa Kinlaw close to 2019. You got any opinions on him?
He scares me a little because of his bend. He's too tall. Sometimes he can't get underneath those outside, tackles and things like that. I understand the freakish, attitude, the freakish abilities, and I see all of that as well. My concern would be bend and trying to win against faster tackles in this league that, again, you can beat up on college people all the time when you have to go up against a Trent Williams or a Bakhtiari and things like that. Can you win? Can you win consistently? And that's really where I get nervous. If you're going to draft him, then you're drafting him with the expectations that eventually he'll come along. I don't see Rousseau coming in immediately and being like this, like blow up edge guy. If there is one guy that kind of profiles for the 49ers, it's Aziz Ojulari. And again, shout out Jordan, his splash cousin. He put me onto him. He profiles like how D Ford plays. Fast guy, moves with hands. And, again, they're looking to replicate success from 2019. You can't do that with D Ford, obviously, at this point for obvious reasons. So if you're trying to replicate that on defense, that would be the guy that probably makes more sense right there. And again, I'm not taking credit for that. I've just been trying to watch as many other people that aren't quarterbacks now and trying to figure out how to fill out this roster. And he's somebody that jumps right off the board at me.
Tony, I lost your question. It's gone. Please put it in the comment section in all caps. I'll get to it. Shay says trade number 10 for the number 10. Trade number 10 for the second and third. Use all third-round picks this year, first and next year's first and a second this year to go get Fields, stop playing, get the quarterback. Well, look, I can't follow that. But you say it all ends up with go get Fields, stop playing, get the quarterback. Dude, I really think that Kyle agrees with Chris Sims.
I think so too, and I don't know anything. I think so too, Shay. Honestly, look, I know that there's a large portion of this fan base that is not going to like it. They're not. I am not one of those people. I've been on board with it the entire time, but I think the same thing as well.
Yes.
I really do.
I really do. I really do. And look, I think Fields he might come in and be a straight up baller because there's a lot of things he does really well. He runs really well. He throws downfield really well. He has a cannon. But Kyle's offense is more short throws. And when Sims brought up the thing about the floppy arm and the not so quick release, I'm like, man, that sounds like it's coming straight out of Kyle Shanahan's mouth. I think Fields is going to have more success in a vertical offense, straight up, where he gets to take 7-step drops and hold it. And that's just not what the Niners are right now. So anyway, Shay, that's interesting. Last question real quick comes from Brian again. Do you guys think Shanahan's scheme with the run game can fast track a rookie quarterback's experience in a sense and player earlier, like a handicap boost?
Yeah, I mean, that's why we we have been saying, if anybody can, it's these things. And I think that as much as I love play designs on passing, I think that I become more enamored with what Kyle Shanahan does in the run game, utilizing the fullback to create angles. It's beauty. It's straight up beauty. So understand
Best
that
in the league.
when you have that pressure lifted off you, that you're not going to have to throw the ball 40, 50 times because your defense is going to put you in a hole or anything like that. Like the only reason that you would be down is because the turnovers, things like that, things that you really can't explain. So you're always going to be in an advantageous situation as quarterback of the 49ers based on the run game, based on how if things go where Kyle sees things moving, he can pound the ball the entire game. We saw him win 2 playoff games that way, like literally stop throwing the ball. So it's great for any rookie quarterback to come in because you're not asked to be the man immediately, and if you are pushed into that position, then you still have something to fall on. That sustained offense. It's not going to be all put on your plate.
And also, like, the run game is the quarterback's best friend, and the play action passing game is the quarterback's best friend. And I think that's what the Shanahans have that's been their philosophy. Like, they look at offensive gurus trying to give quarterbacks, the greatest pass play, all the great receivers. It's like drop back passing can only help a quarterback so much. What really helps him is a run game. What really helps him is play action. Anyway, I have a big picture question. I don't know how much you've thought of it, but at what point will Jed York become impatient with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch? I say this because Jed York is historically an impatient person. I mean, the dude fired Mike Singletary fast. He fired Jim Harbaugh after 4 years and 3 NFC Championship appearances, fired Tom Sula after a year, Kelly after a year, then gave Kyle Shanahan an extension after 3 years. He was so impatient to say that he'd gotten it right. And now you're entering year 5 without a quarterback. If they do what we talked about earlier, wait around for Deshaun Watson and not get him and run it back with Jimmy G and miss the playoffs again, at which point will Jed York become Jed York again?
I think John Lynch is more on the hot seat than Kyle Shanahan. I think that everybody kind of understands that Kyle Shanahan is the one who takes care of personnel. This is his show. John Lynch is good at what he does as far as the media, player guy. When you have a player in the organization who's a general manager, players gravitate to that. And that's not even an opinion. Guys respect guys who have played in this league. And when you're talking about John Lynch being a Hall of Fame level type player as well, too, that helps. But I feel like if anybody is going to be – so here's what will happen. If there is no quarterback change, and let's say this team, God forbid, goes 5-11 next year, John's going to feel the heat immediately. Kyle Seed will heat up a little. But I feel like he has the keys. I feel like Jed York is giving him the keys by what you said with the whole extension immediately. That's the thing. I think that what really is going to fast track this timeline of whatever Jed thinks is that Super Bowl appearance in 2019. You can't go to the Super Bowl in 2019 and then in 2020 end up this way when you have your built-in excuses of, hey, everybody was injured. Cool. But now this offseason is critical. It's critical because it's again, not a perfect storm, but it's a perfect storm of circumstances. Jimmy's out, the quarterbacks, the salary cap, tough decisions are going to have to be made. And I think that hopefully this regime has really realized that now it's time to go get somebody and try to build around them. Because if you get whoever you think is your guy, you're going to get another 2 years. You're going to get another 2 or 3 years to really figure it out.
That's true. But if you don't get your guy, if you run it back and say, we're contenders, this is the team we want. We want Jimmy. We want Trent Williams. We're going to be right back there. And the same thing happens this year that happens last year. You missed the playoffs. It's Jed York. And we know him better than Kyle and John know him. I mean, he's really impatient. He'll flip his opinion immediately. And he was patient the first 2 years when they missed the playoffs, but he signed on for that. They were rebuilding and he knew it. They're not supposed to be rebuilding now. And if they don't take the quarterback this year, then they're not freaking rebuilding. So all I'm saying is, Kyle and John, I know you're watching. You got to know who you're working for. And don't take that for granted because Jed York is unpredictable or predictably unpredictable.
Yeah, and that's what I get more nervous about. Like, you asked me the question, like, has your confidence waned in Kyle? No, it's more about what does the person above him do? And that's how does he react? And that's really what I can't predict at all. But
once you create an expectation, ask Jim Harbaugh. Jed wants that every year. And if it's not there, it's like, well, you must be a bum now.
2019, you make that Super Bowl, you expect to be close, competing, doing the same thing year after year. And like
from
I said,
Jed's perspective, he was being patient last year. Don't test him 2 years in a row.
This year, you have your excuses about, the injuries and COVID and all those things, and then being misplaced. Like, this was just such a awful year. Like, again, and it can be chalked up to all those things. But this is the offseason. This is the critical one. And I hate that it has to happen under these salary cap constraints, because tough decisions are going to have to be made, and you're going to have to try to figure out a way to get under this cap and keep this roster afloat. This team can't afford to go 6-10 or 6-11, 17 games, right? Or 7 and 10. It can't happen.
No, they got to have a winning record. Yeah. Unless we are picking a quarterback in round 1 / cutting Jimmy, we need to trade back as much as possible and collect picks in round 2 and round 3. Too many holes. Yeah. The thing that's funny, the Niners have 10 picks, 7 of them on day 3, which is interesting. Like, do the Niners expect all those guys to make their team? Are they going to be depending on that many rookie day 3 picks for depth?
Can I put my conspiracy theory hat on? Conspiracy theory hat on?
Yeah.
When you looked at all those picks that came out, and yes, the NFL had to rescind, one of those picks because they got it wrong. Hey, guys, podcasters get it wrong.
Sorry.
And the NFL gets it wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys going to slander them now? Anyway.
Yes.
Here's the thing. The only thing that I look at when I see all of that ammo and that capital is for a trade up or a trade. That's it. Yeah. Like, that's the only, and again, those day 3 picks, they don't hit. Good. They don't hit, Fred Warner, George Kittle. Those aren't the rule. Those are the exceptions. That's not the rule.
That makes, you want 1 5th-round pick. You don't need 7. If you could trade down a couple of spots in round 1 and round 2, trade up from day 3 and just get more picks in the top 100. That's what you get, more than 2 picks in the top 100. Because right now the Niners are 12, 43, 103, and then a lot of stuff after that. Yeah, they have ammo to move around, but they got to move around. Yep. Okay, 2 more questions and we'll go quick. What's going to happen with Nick Mullens? It's been reported that they're not going to tender him. Let's start there.
Someone will bring him in to be a backup.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they just let him go on the market, maybe the fact that he's injured will keep him available. But I think a lot of teams would be interested in him as a backup, especially teams that have the under-center Kyle Shanahan offense.
For the reason that you're saying too as well. Listen, say what you want about Nick Mullens' play, and maybe it doesn't translate to the field, but the guy is a machine when the way he processes things.
Yes.
And that's the thing. And
there's no question about work ethic, how he fits in, all that stuff. There's no question.
That can be valuable if, let's say, you find yourself in a situation where maybe you're mentoring a guy in his first deal and you're trying to, so that can be valuable. So I see him landing somewhere. I wouldn't rule him out coming back though. I really wouldn't. I really would not. You hear them talking about upgrading the backup quarterback. You need guys on practice squad. You need guys underneath. So I wouldn't rule it out completely. It doesn't seem likely, but I think that Nick Mullens sticks somewhere for sure.
I think the Niners' attitude this year was, look, the cap's going down. We don't have the money to be giving out 2nd-round tenders. We can't give out $3 million to guys like we did with Kendrick Bourne. Like all those guys who signed, Ross Dwelly, basically signed for vet minimum deals that they wouldn't have got. So it's like, hey, you want to come back? We'll offer you this. And if you don't want it, you can dip. And I would imagine they offered something. I don't know. They offered something similar to Nick Mullens here. Vet min, you're hurt. And the fact that he didn't, I'm just taking another leap there and thinking maybe he thinks he can do better on the open market because he has proven, he's played. He's put up some numbers. So we'll see if he's right. And there was interest in him last year. He changed his agent from whatever to CAA, which is a big deal. He was gearing up. He was thinking like
there was a market.
Yeah, there was a market. And maybe if he had played a little bit better this year, he'd be a starter somewhere. So he may feel that there's still a market for him as a backup, especially if he can rehab and come back. So if he's wrong, then the Niners can bring him back. Yeah,
it was floated out there, the 2nd or 3rd round pick for Nick Mullens. I just don't see how you don't run and smash trade. I don't care what you think about who's the guy in front of them. To get a 2nd or 3rd round pick for an undrafted free agent backup quarterback, that is 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100. And I don't care how much backlash I took when I was saying this before, right? Because there was still, and I got to kind of blame you a little bit for it. There was still that process, there's still that part of Twitter that was like, Nick Mullens is still better than this guy, and he can still, for me, just think about it logically. Undrafted free agent, you can get a 2nd or a 3rd for that, and he's a backup. You do that 10 out of 10 times, and you send him away. If you can have someone who's undrafted and turn it into draft capital, I don't even understand if anyone, I don't care what team it is. If they called you and said, we'll send you a 2nd or a 3rd, I would just say, peace out, Nick. You got to go, man. And that's it.
Because now you're letting him
now
go.
you're not getting anything. It's over.
Yeah.
If you had that chance, then you had to strike when the iron was hot. That's why you have to strike before they play more and they devalue they drop their value down. That's the issue.
Packers knew. They knew how to do it back in the day.
Yep.
All right, final question. What's going to happen with Emmanuel Moseley? Same kind of thing. He is another restricted free agent. Mullens and Moseley are the restricted free agents who play the most, who have the most game tape and feel like they have the most value. I would imagine the Niners try to do what they did with Dwelly with him. Here, Moseley, here's $900,000. And he's thinking, nah, I can do better. Do you think he'll do better? Do you think he'll come back?
I thought they would tender him, and I thought that, when you have to think about it based on this roster, who are the cornerbacks on this roster right now? It is Emmanuel Moseley, restricted, Tim Harris, and Webster. That's it. Spoon's not under contract. Neither is Verrett. For me, when you talk about a guy who was put in pressure situations, right? Witherspoon gets pulled, you go right to Moseley. Moseley was solid. I don't see how you can take a chance and let him walk when you know him so well and you've been able to get what you've gotten out of him. If you think that you're going to be able to replace him in free agency, I guess, or the draft, I don't know what the thought process is. For me, what do I know? I know Moseley fits. I know Moseley's played here before. I know Moseley's been solid. I think you have to bring him back, I think, at this point.
Yeah, but it doesn't look to me like they will. If they let him go, I think a lot of teams would look at him and say, he's solid, I'll take him. And I think the Niners, it seemed like to me like they were phasing him out at the end of the year. Kello Witherspoon was starting over him, and he was in the slot? He was
so Spoon. Yeah. So here's the thing with Spoon. We all know and I would love for him to come back. I just don't know why he would. But with Spoon, and this is the one thing because everybody always wants to throw the mental aspect of it to me, and that's a concern. Here's where I'll say I think he broke through. He got out of Kyle's doghouse. He's the only player to do it. He's the only player to do it.
Yeah.
And he actually played very well. Now I'm talking about not just being on the field, because Pettis got out of the doghouse and got put on the field, and then he went out on his shield and jumped in the air and in the
That's
Seattle
exactly game. What he did. He went out on his shield. That's
but
exactly
Spoon,
what he did. Yeah.
But Spoon actually played very well. The Arizona game, everybody points to the interception. That was probably his worst of the games because he gave up about 7 catches, I believe, in that game. But if you notice the way he was covering DK Metcalf, if you notice the way that he was getting up after pass breakups, the guy seemed like he was over it. And my fear is he's gotten over the mental hurdles. The 49ers are going to say, hey, can we have you back? And he's going to say, no. I'm going to go somewhere else where they're not going to treat me bad. And,
my fear is that he put together a good 5 games at the end of his contract, and the Niners are going to give him a deal thinking that, we always believed in you and you showed it. And then he's going to do what so many other players before him have done. And I don't have to say it. You know what I'm saying? That's the
career year. So contract year, you put some things on film. It's the extremes for me. First 4 weeks of 2019, lights out. Last 5 weeks of 2020, lights out. Man coverage everywhere. Slot, outside, here, there, anything you needed him to do. Yeah, there's just those in between things, right? And even the
where
games
he gets
that
up
has
17 touchdowns in a 10-game span.
Even,
those are the ones.
Even in those games that he's played bad, there's still good tape. Like the Saints
no
game,
doubt.
Right? He makes a play in there, and I'm just see how that narrative of the Saints game in 2019 is just you go back and you watch it, and I'm look at that play by Keller Witherspoon. Look at that pass breakup. It's in glimpses. It's just never sustained stretches. So I understand that concern as well.
Shay says, you two are some of the most brilliant minds on 49ers Twitter. What do you mean some of? What do you mean some of? No,
I appreciate that.
It. Yeah, thank you. I've said this. If they get any edge rusher, I'm praying it's Aziz after a trade back.
Aziz is awesome, man. He profiles just like what D Ford was, was a speed rusher, and I again, I can't take credit for that one. I'm not taking credit for it, but I see the vision and I see how he wins, and pair him up with Bosa and you might be able to have something, especially if he's going to be that cheap.
Well, we just crossed the 1 hour mark. We got 1,000 people watching us. Jason is a big fan favorite. Thanks a lot for watching, Jason. This is a hell of a show. Thanks for coming on.
The man. Thank you as always.
You're the man. Things are ramping up. Things are getting interesting. Free agency starts in 6 days.
This is going to be a crazy week. It's Thursday. I think we're going to see some stuff happen soon. That you look. Yeah. I'm going to need you to be available for live emergency broadcasts and things like that too. Because I'm calling in all favors. We have to cover this every way.
I know it looks like I'm in $1 million studio, but I'm really just in my bedroom. So I'm available all the time, man.
Me too.
Thanks everyone. Hey. All right, man. Thanks everyone.
Later, everybody.
I'll be back in an hour with the All 49ers guys.